Hi everyone and welcome along to your Friday cook along here with me. I'm Aine from Good Food Nutrition. So I haven't seen you all this week because I've been away myself, but back for a Friday sort of cook along to give some great ideas now coming into the weekend as well. Nice, quick, speedy food, but obviously loads and loads of health in it as well. So up to about 5 minutes ago, the recipe I had for you was so summery and so lovely and light and everything like that. Now it looks like it's going to pour rain, but we'll go along with the same one anyway. So I know at this stage is sort of lockdown is eased and things are slowly sort of moving back to normal, well, as normal as you get. And we're sort of going back to our normal habits as well. But the one thing I hear from people is that they still don't want to be spending hours in the kitchen on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday as well, the weekend as well. So even if you're not back to work fully, again, you want your spare time for yourself and you don't always want to be spending it cooking as well. So today, this is a beautiful recipe that you can either make tonight for a very speedy Friday night tea, but if you haven't got the ingredients in as well, is get them in for tomorrow and it is so, so gorgeous. So I'm going to be showing you how to make my really tasty, speedy, spicy beef tacos with my lime salsa. Okay, so your recipe is up on screen now, but obviously if you want to take note of your recipe after the video, is just go back to the beginning, take a screenshot, and you'll have it there in front of you. So again, lovely, quick recipe, using probably a lot of ingredients that you already have in your fridge as well. And again, as per normal, I'm taking into account is that what's in perhaps my salsa recipe, you might have in the fridge. So obviously you can change it around and put something else in there that you fancy as well. But for my salsa today is I'm going to be using some yellow pepper simply because I love the crunch of it raw and tastes absolutely lovely as well. That kind of sweetness to it as well. I've got some gorgeous, lovely sort of plum tomatoes, kind of Italian tomatoes, gorgeous. I have some red onion because I love the taste of red onion raw in salsas and salads as well. And again, onion really good for the digestion as well. I have a little bit of sweet corn because I love salsa with sweet corn as well, but obviously you don't have to put that in if you don't have it in the house. And again, I'm going to be going in with the flavors. I've got some salt, some pepper, I've got some fresh coriander, I've got some fresh lime juice as well, and I've also got some garlic, okay? Really important. So a lot of those things you might already have in the fridge. So it's just a case of really looking in, see what you have, what you don't have. You can always pop in a little bit of chopped coriander. You can pop in some avocado if you have. I just don't have any ripe avocados with me. Really, whatever you fancy. You can go with red peppers, green peppers, completely up to yourself as well. Now, and then what you can, today I'm going to be using sirloin steak. Okay, and I have a lovely, if I move this here, I have a lovely sirloin steak here. So it's probably about a 6, maybe about a 7-ounce sirloin. And again, that'll serve a good portion to one person. Or if you're using it as a starter, maybe you decide to cook like a 2-course meal this weekend, is this one sirloin will feed 2 people. Okay, so again, is the reason now I'm using sirloin is because we're going to be flash cooking this in the pan. I tend to like if I do eat beef, which is not very often, but if I do eat a steak, I like mine very medium rare. So again, really, you can see the thickness of that steak there. It's so, so thin. So that is literally going to be flushed into the pan, one side, turned over, and then I'm going to take it off and I'm going to let it rest before slicing it. If you're not using sirloin, the other one I would say to you is using a fillet steak, a bit more expensive. But again, is when you're cooking beef quickly you can't really use it. Well, it's much harder to use the cheaper cuts as well because they're sort of designed to be more sort of slow cooked or stewed to kind of break down the muscle and sinews in it as well. And if you try to cook them quickly, it'll be like chewing on the end of your shoe and not pleasant at all. So again, is your sirloin or your fillet is probably the easiest one as well. And or the other one as well you could use is flat iron as well. That's quite a reasonable cut as well. Again, is if you want to use the cheaper cuts, is what I would suggest doing is bashing it out a bit to tenderize it, then marinating it for a few hours. And what that'll do is it will tenderize it and it will kind of soften it down, but it'll never be probably as sort of tender as you're going to get your sirloin fillet as well. So you can treat yourself this weekend and treat yourself to a good cut of beef. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to actually just marinate the steak for us, and I'm just going to leave that for a few minutes, and then I'm going to get it on the pan as well. So what I'm just going to do is, for my marinade, I'll get myself a little bowl here. This is such a simple marinade, by the way, and if you are one to follow my recipes as well, is that you more than likely have these spices in the cupboard as well, because if you remember back when we first started these back months ago, is that I do try to use a bank of similar herbs and spices constantly, so that it means that when you do buy them, like the cumin here, is that it's not, you don't use it once and then it's sitting in your cupboard until it goes out of date in 2 years' time. I do sort of have a bank of maybe 15, 20 herbs and spices, and I mix and match them for lots and lots of different dishes as well. So for today, I'm going to be going in with half a teaspoon of our ground cumin. So just into a little container. Now you may find is that perhaps this marinade is too much for even just one piece of steak or one piece of beef. And if it is, make it, and you can either freeze it or pop it into the fridge, and you could use it to marinate some chicken, some prawns, some fish, whatever you like, because these tacos, you can make them chicken tacos, turkey, king prawn tacos, or you can just make them veggie tacos. So it's not sort of, the marinade isn't designed specifically for beef. So again, it's taken sort of ingredients and put them together so they're not specific to one particular recipe. So again, is if you overmake on one recipe, but a lot of the stuff that I do is pop it in a jar in the fridge and you can use it again on another dish as well. So into that, I'm going to go with 1 teaspoon of our chipotle spicy paste, or chipotle or chipotle, however you sort of say it. But it's gorgeous. There's a real kick to it as well. Okay, so quite a chili paste as well, but really tasty. And again, with these type of things in the fridge or in the cupboard, you can whip up gorgeous dishes in an instant as well. So we're going to go in here with 1 teaspoon. Now it is quite hot. The chipotle paste is, I will warn you that. So if heat isn't your thing, maybe just go in with about half a teaspoon to begin with. We're also going to go in with a little bit of olive oil, just about 1 tablespoon. Now you'll notice as well here is that as I go along is I'm not oiling the griddle pan, which we're using, is that I'm oiling the meat. Okay, so generally I won't oil the griddle pan because we want to get it really hot. And if we try to do that with the oil in it, the oil will start to smoke and then the oil will burn, at which point it's useless, but it'll also taste rancid, but it's actually quite dangerous for your health as well. So I would say to you, if you're using griddle pans or for any sort of meat as well, as oil the meat and then pop it into the pan as well, because that way you also have minimal oil on your food as well. So just give that a bit of a mix around. I'm also going to add in a little bit of salt in there as well. I'm not going to add in any pepper, simply because it's that the chilies in the chipotle sauce or the chipotle paste is actually very strong, so I don't want to blow the head off myself. So a little pinch of my lovely pink sea salt, which I have been using throughout. And if I just show you there, you can see is it's just a real sort of liquid consistency. I give it another mix around and you'll see there, it's just kind of dropping consistency. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to trim down the meat. So you can see on this is it's kind of got a lovely bit of fat around it. And the fat is actually what will give it the flavor, okay? So I am going to actually is leave that fat on at the moment. I'm going to cook it with the fat on to give all of that gorgeous flavor to the meat. And then before I slice it up to go in our tacos, I'm going to obviously remove the fat because you don't want that on the tacos, very unpleasant. So just taking a spoon of your paste across the top and just using your fingers. I mean, it's quite a thin steak as well, but I kind of bashed it down with my fingers. So you'll see there is I am just taking my fingers and just rubbing it into the meat. Okay, and that is, as I'm pressing down on the meat as well, is that is going right into the sort of the inside of the meat throughout the pores as well. And it will help to tenderize the meat, but it also gets all that flavour in there as well, which is exactly what you want. So just mix that around all that side. And then on the other side as well, we're going to go in with another tablespoon. And again, just with your fingers, is just rubbing that in nice and gently. Okay, now ideally, if you're going to be doing this as well, I would say to you is perhaps start marinating the meat. You know, rub all the marinade into it as well. Nice little bit of olive oil in there as well. And then put it on a plate and put it in your fridge for up to about 2 hours. Okay, that would be like maximum sort of marinating as well. But obviously, you're not going to wait around for 2 hours while I do that today. So we are just going to leave it for a minute or so. Again, back to the other side. And that is just looking lovely. Okay, I'm just going to wash your hands very quickly. Just to get all that marinade off my hands. Now, okay, so what I'm going to do now is, because I'm also going to, once I cook the meat, is again very, very important to let your meat rest, because what that does is it allows all the fibres and the muscles and all in the meat to relax. So if you don't want sort of tough out stringy beef or stringy meat, is anytime, say even when you're cooking a roast chicken, when you're cooking chicken breast or any type of meat, is afterwards, take it off the pan, put it on a warm plate, and just let it rest there, okay? And again, that will tenderize it down and make it a lot more succulent and a lot more soft. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gently heat up my pan to a good sort of, you know, medium-high heat as well. That over there to that side. And then I'm just going to get myself a spare plate as well, just that when I take off the steak in a couple of minutes, I'm going to be letting it rest under there. And we just let this come up. So you know yourself when it's hot enough, in that when you put your hand on the top, it doesn't burn you, but there's a good solid heat coming from it as well. So this is a lovely, lovely dish as well, is that if by any chance we got a bit of sunshine this evening or tomorrow and you were thinking, you know, salad, I'm getting the barbecue on, I'm going to chill a couple of beers or a couple of bottles of wine or whatever, and you want something really, really simple to cook. This dish is absolutely fantastic because you can make it in bulk as well, and then you can just leave it on the table and allow everybody to help themselves as well. Okay, so I would say to you, what you could do then is, if you are interested in doing that, is after the video today, is that work out sort of what part, or how much of the ingredients, how much beef, how much chicken you need as well. Also, as well as what you could do is you could do sort of some of the beef tacos and some of the chicken. But instead of cooking them on the pan, is you can actually lay them across the barbecue, or with the chicken, is you can cut it into nice little chunks and put it on sort of bamboo skewers, and you can barbecue them that way. And then just, you know, lay them out, lay out the salsa, lay out maybe some green salad as well, is lay out your tortilla wraps as well, and then just let everybody sort of help themselves as they feel like it, because it's not going to matter too much if the meat gets a little bit cold, because all that flavour is in there that's been cooked into it. Now, we're just going to go on with this steak here. That's nice and hot there. Now, this is going to cook in probably about a minute each side. So what I'm going to do is, I am just going to lay it on. I'm going to get nice and fiddly. And I'm just going to get rid of my board here for 1 second. Now, as I say, it's depending on your own sort of preference for meat, is that will depend on how long you cook it for. But also as well, remember, is that, I mean, mine is quite a nice sort of thin sirloin steak. If you're more sort of, if you like your thick steaks as well, it's going to take longer to cook. Because this is so thin, I'm only going to give this probably about a minute and a half on either side. And I have a nice sort of high heat on there, and it's going to give that lovely griddle pattern as well to it. So I'm just going to let that cook away there. Oh, that's looking lovely. So turn it back this way just to get that lovely sort of crisscross design on the outside of it. And I'm just going to give that, oh, you can taste that already. I'm just going to give that about another 30 seconds on that side. And then I'm going to turn it over. At which point then I'm going to start on the salsa and show you how simple, how easy it is to make that. So this is already cooking lovely. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn it over now. And we'll just let that cook away there for a minute or so. Now, on to our salsa. Again, the most simple salsa in the world. I have also got here some sort of mixed beans, but you can also use black beans, you can use kidney beans, you can use chickpeas, you can even use green lentils, which are lovely in this as well. Excuse me, that smoke is going right down my throat. Now, again, I'm just going to move this around just to get that lovely crisscross on it as well. So yes, for your beans, is often what I will do is I will actually use like tins of green lentils, and they taste wonderful. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by adding in some of our beans into a bowl. I am going to add in some of our sweet corn. I'm just going to keep an eye out here on our beef. That is looking gorgeous. And that is just about ready because it is literally so big. And what I have done now is I have just turned off the heat on that. And I'm just going to leave that there for about another 30 seconds to a minute. And then I'm actually going to take it off as well, okay? Let me just have another look. That is lovely. Now with that, it is quite hard to sort of cook that down to medium rare because it literally cooks so quickly. But again, I want it cooked very minimally, just to leave all that juice in it. Now, back here to our salsa. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself a couple of strips of our yellow pepper, which I absolutely love. As I say, I love the crunch on it. So we're just going to slice down these into nice little chunks. And now I'm just going to take that off completely, and I'm going to let that rest. Okay, so that is going to be gorgeous. Now, just to keep it nice and warm, I'm just going to put another plate over the top, and that's just going to keep that lovely heat in there as well. But obviously, it doesn't really matter if you're serving it to a crowd. Excuse me. If you're serving it to a crowd and it happens to go a little bit cool, I don't think too many people are going to argue with you. Oh, all these chilies are going down the throat. Excuse me. Okay, so back to our peppers. And we're just slicing these into lengths, so about that long, and then we're just going to go in with nice small little chunks. So in we go with that. And again, this is all adding lots of colour and everything to the dish as well, so it looks lovely. In we go with a little bit of our red onion. So again, just taking some small little slices, and then nice, excuse me, and then nice small little chunks of it. And again, we just want, with the onion particularly, is nobody wants to get a big mouthful, a big chunk of onion, so nice and small for that. And this as well is going to, what happens is kind of the strong flavour from the onion will get sort of diluted down once I add in the lime as well. So in we go with our red onion. It's lovely. Get rid of some of these. And then we're also going to go in with some lovely little tomatoes as well. Okay, so our tomatoes, we're just going to cut them in quarters and then just dice them down nice and small. I love tomatoes in salsa as well, is because they add a little bit of juice as well, so again, that moisture's in there. So in we go with our tomatoes. And yeah, just quartering them and chopping them down nice and finely. Now, a little tip for you when it comes to ripe tomatoes is that make sure you add a good sprinkling of some nice sea salt in there as well, is because it brings out a lot of flavour as well, okay? So even if you want to sort of at the end, it's just taste it, but add in a good sprinkling of your nice pink salt or whichever sea salt you're using. And as I say, it does bring a lot of flavour out there. Excuse me. So again, just chopping these down nice and fine. If you are making this as well with avocado, guys, just remember, is only add it right at the end, because avocado has a tendency sort of go black very, very quickly once you cut, because once the oxygen gets on it, it sort of starts to turn colour. So if you wanted to keep that lovely greenness as well, is that just cut the avocado at the very last minute. So we'll just add the rest of these tomatoes in now. Okay. And then I'm also going to go in with a clove of garlic as well. So we just want a nice big fat clove of garlic there. And again, we're just going to skin it, just pressing down with the back of our knife there, taking off the skin, and then just pulling the rest of the skin off. And what I'm going to do is just very, very finely is I'm going to slice it down so that, again, is, you know, anybody's not getting like a big chunk of garlic as well. So everything is nice when it comes to like garlic, ginger, whatever dishes, is making sure everything's nice and finely sliced so that you're not sort of getting a big chunk of it as you bite into it. So again, pressing down on it, and then just very finely slicing down your garlic. And in that's going to go there. And then we're going to go in with a nice big sprinkling of our pink sea salt over the top. There are some dishes where I do tend to put more salt than others. And I only use a little bit of salt, but some things I feel sort of really need that extra sort of bit of salt as well. So in we go with our black pepper. Let's make sure that's open. There we go. And then we're also going to go in with the juice of a nice ripe lime as well. So just in half. Gosh, excuse me. And then we're just going to go straight in with the juice, just over the top. I think the juice is going everywhere with the bowl here. And that's going to give it as well that lovely sort of Mexican flavour as well. Now into that as well, obviously, is a nice big glove of really good quality oil. And I tend to use, when it comes to the extra virgin, I tend to use a good organic one. That's just a Sainsbury's one. But again, as you do pay for what you get when it comes to the oil and the quality of it as well. Now, getting a big spoon is just give everything a good mix around there. And that's already looking gorgeous, the colours on it now. I'll show you now once I have mixed this around. I actually think I'm going to go in with a little with the juice of the other lime, or the other half of the lime, sorry, because it's actually quite a big salsa I've made. I've sort of nearly made it for about 4 people. So again, just give it a nice big squeeze there, get all the juice out. And then just give everything a nice mix around. So when you actually put it onto the steak as well, is it's adding as well is a little bit more moisture to the dish as well, so that it's not completely dry. Okay. And then of course, it being Mexico as well, we have to go with some fresh coriander. So my plant is not looking the best at the moment, but I'm going to get some nice ripe leaves off it. And we're going to take the stalks as well, because the coriander as well is, unlike parsley, is a lot of the flavour is in stalks and you can use them no problem. So I would say use away at those. Just trying to get some that are nice and green. There's some more. And there is another. Okay, put that to one side for a second. And then what I'm going to do is just mush all that together. And then just using your knife is just chop that nice and finely. Okay, and that is sort of, you can't really make a Mexican salsa without adding some coriander. It does give it that beautiful sort of salsa flavour. So in we go with our fresh coriander. And again, just giving everything a mix around it. And that's also going to give it that beautiful green colour as well, which we're looking for. So that is looking gorgeous. Now, the one thing to do here is to make sure to taste it, okay? Because you want to know, before you hand this out to everybody, if it needs more salt, if it needs more pepper, or anything else as well. Excuse me. So, just going to take a little bit, just see if it needs a bit more salt. I would say yes, another little sprinkling of our salt. But the flavours in there with the coriander and the lime as well, absolutely delicious. So I would urge you as well that if you like sort of cooking at home is to, I know it can be very tempting to sort of buy the dressings for things, but the reality is we don't know what's in the dressings, and also as well the glum and dear. So, you know, it is so easy. If you have a good quality olive oil, good quality salt, good quality black pepper, you can do wonders for the dish just by adding in some lemons, some limes, some garlic as well, and some fresh herbs as well. So you can save yourself a fortune, but also as well as you know exactly what's in it. So that is tasting beautiful. Now, if you want a bit more heat, is that you can add in, you can slice down a red chili as well, or, you know, dice it into tiny bits. But to be honest with you, is there's a good kick off that steak as well, so I don't think we're going to need any more. Now, I'm going to start to assemble everything, guys. So, again, as for all my other dishes as well, if you can see how quick and how easy it is when you're actually preparing these type of dishes. I don't go in for sort of hours and hours of cooking unless it's Christmas dinner or Easter dinner. So, you can see here, excuse me, this steak has now been resting for a few minutes, and you've got all that extra sort of juice out of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop that there. Okay. I'm just going to get rid of these plates. And I'm just going to get myself a nice fresh plate. So what you can do, I have here, is just a normal tortilla. I was looking for the small sort of taco ones, but they didn't have them in the shop. So, so instead I've just gone with a large tortilla. But obviously for yourself, if you're planning to do this, I would suggest is getting the small little sort of flour tortillas that you'll see probably in the aisle with rice and pasta and stuff like that as well, because that way you can have multiple bits of it. But in this one, we're just going to have a large taco instead. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim down our steak. So again, is just taking off the fat along the side. And remember, that lovely fat is what has given that steak the flavour as well. It's one of the reasons why I do tend to more use, if I'm going to use beef in dishes like this, I do tend to go for sirloin because, or sorry, for quick cooking. If I'm using it for quick cooking, I use sirloin because I find that the addition of that fat on there, and there's more marbling fat throughout the meat, and really what gives it the flavour is that fat as well. Whereas if you're buying fillet steak, it's very, very lean, and again, I just don't feel that there's much flavour just for me in there. So we're going to get rid of that fat, and then what we're going to do is, just at an angle, we're just going to slice off small little strips. Now you just want nice thin little strips, and it still has a lovely bit of pink in there as well. And it smells absolutely gorgeous, lads, absolutely lovely. But this is such an easy, you save yourself a fortune cooking this instead of ordering takeout as well. So much easier. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to take my tortilla wrap here. I am just going to spoon on some of this gorgeous salsa. Okay. Just around there with all those lovely, lovely colours. And then I'm going to put as well is some nice fresh coriander on there as well. So there's all these beautiful reds and yellows and everything like that. Now, normally I would tend to use black beans in this, but again I didn't have any black beans and I didn't have any in the shop. So again you can see even for me it's learning to, when you're reading off a recipe is that don't feel you have to stick to the recipe 100%. Yes, maybe when it comes to the actual flavorings, but when it comes to things like, which peppers to use, which beans to use, I would say play around. So we'll put another little bit on there. That's looking fab. All that beautiful colour. Another bit of peppers. That just looks beautiful. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a few little more bits of our coriander. Again, some nice little heads of it. That's going to go over the top. And just another couple of these. Because this, again, is going to give it so much of the flavour as well. So it is kind of the flavour of Mexico with a bit of an Irish twist as well. Now, for our meat I'm not going to sort of get too fancy how we're arranging it. It's just going to be nice and rustic, because it is a home cooked dish. Remember, it's not in a restaurant. So don't be putting yourself under any pressure to have it looking as if, you know, something that you've sat down in a restaurant to order. This is your dish at home. And you'll see there now, when I just pop some of my coriander just over the top of it, I'll arrange it nice and chefy. That is already looking absolutely gorgeous, I have to say. And that, I'm going to show you now up, oh, there's another little bit of steak, we'll stick that on as well. I'm going to show you now up nice and close to the camera as well. But you can see there, that was in about 25 minutes, is how simple it is to make, you know, really good, wholesome, nutritious tea as well, but also stuff that you actually fancy eating as well. So if you got that, excuse me, if you got that and you paired that up with some gorgeous sort of home-baked sweet potato wedges, or even normal potato wedges, sprinkle a little bit of maybe Cajun spice over the top of them. You're going to serve it with some beautiful Cajun wedges as well. A little bit of sour cream, a little bit of natural yogurt in there. You've got a lovely dip as well. So it is so easy to actually put these type of dishes together. So I'm just going to show you up to the camera here, guys, what this actually looks like. So I'm hoping that you can see that. And you've got all that gorgeous, sorry, I never know where I'm putting the thoughts in there. You've got all those gorgeous sort of colours and flavours there as well. So if you really enjoyed that again is, and I'm sorry I missed you during the week as well, but I will be back next week, is if you enjoyed that, guys, feel free to have a look on my website, goodfoodnutrition.co.uk. Lots of lovely recipes on there as well. But also as well is jump on over to my Facebook page, Good Food Nutrition, or if you fancy it, is come along, you ladies, come along and join my closed women's group, which is called the Fabulous Foodies. And if you go to my Facebook page and click on the top banner, it will take you into it as well. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I'll give you one more look there. I hope you enjoyed that. But that is for a Friday evening, or a lovely speedy Friday tea. That is my spicy beef tacos with my homemade salsa. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you do want to make it is, after the video is, go back to the beginning of the video and you will see the ingredients sort of flash up there as well. And here they are back again on the screen. Just take a screenshot of them as well. But you'll see as well as you're more probably likely to have an awful lot of those ingredients in your fridge as well. So guys, thank you so much for that. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I do hope the sun is going to actually make an appearance for longer than 10 minutes at this point. But have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll see you back next week for more cook-alongs. Thank you.